One. And how's it going, everyone? And welcome to No Fun Allowed. Today, you are joined by a very special guest, an award-winning author of the Encounter series for many of the fine modules that you've come to know and love. Please welcome Christian, aka CZRPG. How's it going, Christian?
Hey, I'm going fine, thank you. I hope you're well too.
Oh, I'm fan-frickin-tastic. That's kind of my MO around here. So, you have gone and written up some incredibly amazing content. It is award-winning content on the DM's Guild, of course. You know, you are putting out this content for some of the modules that we love, such as Icewind Dale, Ravenloft. You know, you're bouncing all over the place, and you're going after it. You're putting out maps, you're putting out encounters, roleplay designs, you're putting out all this stuff. And it's just an absolute delight to dive into all this stuff because, you know, these modules that we play, yeah, they're pretty fleshed out to some degree. You know, they got pages, but we are always left wanting more. And thankfully, you provide that filling in. You are able to give us something to dive into and you know, consume. And I'm very appreciative for the amazing content that you're putting out.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
So, you know, at some point you were like all of us. You consumed these products and these media. But then one day you sat down and you said, "You know what? I'm going to start my own stuff. I'm going to write stuff down and I'm going to show it off to the community." So, what got you started on the Encounters series?
Well, the Encounter series came a little bit after I was already in the business. Let's say I call it the business. It's like my second job, right? The TTRPG biz.
Mhm.
I had already released two adventures, three adventures actually,
Mhm.
and I am part of a Discord group that has many other creators. And I was trying to understand, you know, what can bring more success, because adventures can work well, but it's not always the case. They are like you hit or you miss. Some adventures do really well, but other adventures go more on a slower pace. And I thought, okay, what could I invest on to maybe have more success? And I was discussing with another Brazilian creator, and we got an idea to do maybe an encounters product for Icewind Dale, because back then, if it was maybe late July or something like that, Rime of the Frost Maiden had been announced. So we discussed and we thought that it could be a good idea to do an encounters in Icewind Dale, as this product was not available yet. So this is how it started. Unfortunately, he had to leave, so he couldn't, you know, continue in the project. So I kind of did it myself in the end. But this is the beginning of the story, and from there onwards, I really liked it, and I'm doing them to this date and pretend to do more.
So yeah, that's interesting because you know we start off trying to collab with people in the community to try and get a foothold in, and you actually have a somewhat of an advantage to some degree, you know, because for a lot of people in the U.S. we only speak one language, and that does limit the amount of people we can work with technically. So did you find that being an advantage at all, being Brazilian?
The only advantage I can see really on being Brazilian in this business is, let's say that this is a business that usually go around the dollar, right? The US dollar, because the products are sold in dollar. So for example, I earn the money from the DM's Guild and Drive Through RPG in dollars. And since the dollar is stronger than, you know, my own currency, so this is like the only advantage I can see. There is a second advantage which is not so big. I can translate the products to Portuguese, Brazilian, and sell them to Brazilian people. But the audience is not nearly as good as, you know, the global audience. So it's not very profitable, but I still do it, and some of my products are translated. So yeah, I would say this is the main advantage. And just to correct something I just said, when I said pretend to do more, I meant intend to do more, because in Portuguese, pretend means intent. So sometimes,
Okay.
because of this English not being my native language, sometimes we switch some words. So what I meant is that I intend to do more encounters products.
Well, let me tell you, you speak English a hell of a lot better than some people I've met, so don't worry about that.
Really?
Some people that only
Okay,
have
thank you.
English as a single language, they don't know how to speak it too well. So, you know, you start building these encounters and these specifically these modules of your own, and then you dive into the pre-made modules. And for these pre-made modules, were you running them nonstop, or did you just take a glance at them? What was your inspiration to diving into the modules?
Okay, so the first one was Icewind Dale, right? And the module was not actually out when I released the product, because I released it 3 weeks before.
Mm-hmm.
And this is usually a strategy that is ideal, because if you wait too close to release it too close to the official release of a product, there is a flood on these kind of products on DM's Guild. And so what happened with that specific one is that I researched on wikis and whatever was available online about Icewind Dale, so not specific to the module, as I didn't know what would be in the module in details. So I did generic stuff, like generic encounters that should fit the module. And this is what happened. So I did some tundra encounters, I did some mountain encounters, some coastal encounters, and some settlement encounters. So this is how it happened for that one specifically. And I released it 3 weeks before, and this was good because for a long time I was the only encounters product available. And this helped a lot to sell it. But on the same week, and even after the release of Rime, there was like maybe other 10 encounters products that were released. So and my product lost a little bit of visibility, because there were lots of other similar products, but it still sells to this day. I won't say it sells every day, but every week I have sales on that product. So because of the name is really good. But it's encounters in Icewind Dale, as opposed to maybe encounters and something else that's not Icewind Dale.
Mm-hmm.
But Barovia, well, this is my favorite module, Curse of Strahd. And I studied extensively this module. Before even I ran it, I studied for maybe many months. I found the subreddit, Curse of Strahd, which is golden. It's so good. It's a treasure. So many good information there. I was able to, greatly enrich my campaign thanks to a lot of folks there. So, and I was on the consumer side because there were links to the DM's Guild. So I got, for example, the wedding supplement from Wild True. I had no idea who was Wyatt back then, but I'm actually working with him on a soon to be released Ravenloft product. So this is nice. I used his NPC. Not sure if it's his NPC supplement, but I used lots of DM's Guild supplement back then that I bought and helped me to enrich my game. And it's interesting now to be on the other side, to be providing.
It's funny, all of the module communities, they're pretty helpful, but none of them are as fanatical as the Curse of Strahd community. That they're in a whole other league of their own, and the amount of products coming out for it and the amount of support that the community gives to everyone involved is just, it's crazy in a good way, of course. And
It is.
And now, of course, you're putting out these Ravenloft, you're putting out, Curse of Strahd content, but then now, of course, you're looking to the future and saying, oh, there's Ravenloft content now, too. Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
And it is good to look to the future because, looking at all the future supplements that we're going to be getting for the worlds, you are recognizing, hey, the Curse of Strahd community is strong. That Ravenloft community, that's going to be strong, too. So, so you briefly touched upon this, but you aren't always working alone. You are, of course, doing a ton of work, but you're always working with other people, or not always working, but you're working with people all the time. So, what is with all these collaborations that you're doing?
Yeah, so I would say that a releasing a product on the guild or any TTRPG product, it is never truly a solo work, because I still call solo, because usually what is a solo product is a product that you write, you do most of the stuff, but you still need an editor. So you won't be alone. Self-editing is never recommended, right? Maybe some people do it in very rare occasions, but so you always need an editor. So, for example, Encounters in Icewind Dale was a solo product, but I had an editor working with me. Same with Encounters in Barovia. However, in that one, I had also a Ravenloft consultant who is part of the Twice Beaten crew. It's Twy. So he provided some very nice insights that helped the product to be better. So it was a sort of collaboration, although the product was kind of solo, because I wrote the product and then I had the help from a consultant and an editor. Those are the products that so far gave me the most, let's say, most profitable products. However, I took part in many collaborations already. I was in a big one for Tasha. I see Tasha on your background. So I was one of the 25 creators, 25 for Tasha's Crucible of Everything. So it was a big one. I wrote something called Preludes with another guy called Matthew. So it's something I actually run for Cursive Thread. So basically, in my campaign, before we actually ran it, I was DMing Innistrad, which is very similar to Barovia. I'm not sure if you're acquainted to Innistrad, but it's the same vibe. I find it not so nice as Barovia. Barovia is much more cool. Cool. Yeah. But anyway, so I was DMing Innistrad. Then I started running Prelude. So basically, it was like I ran mini campaigns for each of the players for their characters through WhatsApp. So it was post by text. DMing since their beginning of their life, since they were children, well, and until they grew into adolescents, then young adults, until they went to adventure. And then I wrote about that in this Tasha, and this created a very strong connection between the players and the characters, and I managed to link all 6 of them with Barovia, and this was very nice. It was the best campaign we had, because one of the aspects was also because of that. I also was part of other kinds of collaborations, but not that many in 2020, right? However, in 2021, I am using a different strategy. I am involved currently in a big one. It's a module for a campaign from level 1 to 11, so it's going to be a very big one. It's a whole campaign. I have 2 other writers working with me. We have a consultant, then an editor, an artist, and we're gonna have a layout artist. So it's a big project.
Yeah, that sounds like you're jumping from these nice little 15-20 page supplements to a full blown book. that's a pretty cool leap.
It's gonna be very big, and it's set in Forgotten Realms in the old empires in a nation called Chesanta. So it's a Greek style, so they have city-states, and it's going to be a tyranny. It's called Chesanta's Tyranny. Okay. But anyways, because of this product, I don't have time to be writing stuff, right? Writing is very time-consuming. So yeah, I can't do that. But I thought, what can I do to be able to keep putting stuff out, right? How can I multiply my time? So I came up with some other product lines that I will not actually write. So I have roughly 4 product lines. So I have 2 are related to Wizards of the Coast, and 2 are related to ideas of my own. So one is Tarondir product line. It's a city I created, and we are going to do adventures around that city. The other one is the Great Trial product line. It was my first product, which is expanding now. I have an Arctic sequel. We are about to release a desert. I think it's desert. Desert. Yes, desert is what you eat, and desert is where it's sandy and all. So it's a desert adventure. Then I have a Ravenloft product line, of course, for pretty obvious reasons, and I have another product line which I call it Gap. It's like the Gap product line. It's basically a line where I will provide encounter products very similar to the ones that are already there for each one of the modules. So for Dia, for most of Saltmarch, and almost all modules. And in all these lines, I brought and invited writers to work with me and editors. So I'm going to do layout, I'm going to do art in the sense that I'm not an artist specifically, I don't draw, right? But I can get stock art, I can work on art direction, and I'm going to do cartography, publishing, and marketing. And the writers will, of course, write. If they can, they will do the playtest. If they cannot, I will have to handle playtest and try to find people to playtest. And the editor will edit, right? So yeah, those are the collabs I have going on right now.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds awesome that you started off, and, small like everyone else, but you are obviously going places. This is really cool to see, the progress that's been made over time and what's coming up and what you have now. And like that's an incredible little journey. And this is only like semi-recently, right? Like you only started just a few years ago.
Oh, I mean, 1 year ago. Yeah, I completed 1 year anniversary on the 28th.
Yeah.
It's like 1 year. Yeah, it went fast. I mean, I didn't expect that, but it's a great business. And I must also thank a lot of people, thank the community on Twitter, on Facebook, so Discord, Reddit, and so many people, right, that supported with, actually buying the products or with insights, feedback. And so I didn't get here, and I'm just at the beginning of the journey, but even though I didn't get where I am right now alone.
I mean, very few people do. I think that's important to recognize that you can't do everything, right. Like, yeah, you're putting out all these content, you're making art, you're making maps, you're doing this and doing that, but more often than not, you can't do everything by yourself. You need to have a team, and I think it is cooler to have a team that you build up. Like for example, you're building a book with that team, and that is going to be an awesome experience. And I certainly can't wait to see what comes of that. So we have, of course, all these, little encounters that you got. No, not little, but you've got all these encounters you have now. Barovia, Candlekeep, as might have been mentioned before, Candlekeep, you got there early too, which is good. And, you're pushing forward. So in regards of locations that you want to do next, is there anything in particular you're looking forward to? Or are you going to go ahead and, just start hammering down the line? What's the game plan with that?
So basically, in terms of encounters, it's now I don't have many plans for encounters in specifically set in Ravenloft. I do have a Ravenloft line, but it's I might have one idea on encounters, but the other products that will come for Ravenloft are not encounters related. But I have the Gap line. So the Gap line is basically what we have in the pipeline, and there's a long list, but what is already in production. So the descent into Avernus is already almost finished with writing, and editing is about to start. So it's called Deeper Descent in Avernus, because there is already an Encounters in Avernus book. So we will not use the same title. So we picked another title. It's gonna be very similar to all the other encounters. So it's gonna be as much as possible in a mixed approach with social exploration, combat, and any mix of that. There are some exceptions. For example, Encounters in Castle Ravenloft was mostly combat, and Encounters in Candlekeep was mostly not combat because it's a library full of powerful people, but still each product has a little bit of everything with maybe a focus on some of the pillars. Then there's going to be maps, because this is my strategy, and this is something I haven't seen too many people do. But my products usually have a tons of maps. So you will check Encounters in Barovia, there are 17 unique maps, but you get the zip file, it's gonna have 130 maps because of all the variations like no fog, bright, overcast, gridless, so many different. All of that is to provide the DM with options. Of course, it's a lot of maps. Probably a person doesn't need that many maps, but they are there, right? So if the person doesn't like overcast on a VTT, I don't like the gray shades of an overcast map, that's fine. Use the bright version of the map. So this is my main strategy. Each of these products will have maps and also revamped maps. So that's one of the reasons I decided to go into this line, because I noticed that Descent into Avernus, Ghost of Saltmarsh, they have black and white maps on the book. And they are not very great for VTT, right? So I'm revamping them. For example, I did a commented video on detailing the Elf Song Tavern from Baldur's Gate. In the book, it's black and white from Dyson. Very popular maps, but they are black and white, and it works well. But on VTT, usually folks prefer colorful maps. So I did like a complete, I just redid them color. So exactly the same way as Dyson did. Then from that point, I recorded a video putting in details, like putting rugs, putting curtains, putting, decorations. And I posted this to my subscribers. I have an email list, so the subscribers from my email list got this video. And so this is the strategy I'm getting. Next is going to be Encounters in Cults, because this is not available, so we're going to do that one. Horde of the Dragon Queen Expanded and Encounters in Saltmarsh. Those are in production, and then there's more planned for the future.
You're a busy individual, let me tell you.
Yeah, I need clones.
You need clones. You need understudies. You need henchmen and hirelings. You need the works, is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're a workhorse right now. You are just going at it. You are going after a ton of different things, and they're being put out over time. And these things are not, cheap little things either. Of course, you are, you got editors with you, as you just mentioned. You are doing maps on maps on maps, which is great because, variety is the spice of life. And, just giving people options is just fantastic. And that's what these products are for. These products are for people to have more options in our games that we love so much. And I am so grateful to see, all this amazing content coming out and all the hard work you're putting into it. So
thanks.
Yeah, so you're going after it, you're doing all this. I think one last question I wanted to ask is, do you even have a is this has got to be your full-time job at this point? This is like you have 2 full-time jobs.
Almost. It's not my full-time job actually. So when I started this back in February last year, I started working on my first product. It was November 2019, and I released it 4 months afterwards. I had no idea what I was doing at the time, but anyways, I started, and I recall one of the last sessions I had face-to-face with my friends. We were playing, we were starting Tube of Annihilation. I am a player now, and I mentioned to them, hey, I released the product, or I'm about to release a product, I'm going to sell it. It's not very expensive, it's going to be $7, but each time I sell it, it might be maybe $3.50 because it's 50%. The guild takes 50%. I don't know where I'm going with that, but who knows? And then after 1 year, I had no idea this will happen. So at the end of the last year, when I saw the potential of the business, I started to consider that maybe at some point, maybe in a few years, I don't know, I could go full time, but right now I can't yet because I have, my own expenses and so on. So it's been a little bit tiring because I work roughly 40, a little bit more, 40 hours for my main job, then over 20, maybe 25 for TTRPG.
Wow.
So yeah,
That's a busy schedule.
It is, and I have been sacrificing, for example, leisure time like video games. I don't play video games anymore, and even this is not good, but even some family time. I have a wife and a daughter, and I am conscious that I have been spending less time with them than I should. But I hope it's for a short time. I don't intend to, be on this schedule for 5 years. Maybe this year and next year, hopefully things will slow down a bit.
Yeah, I mean, you're going after it. You are certainly going places. Should you keep, if you were doing the same thing, you'd be going places. But the fact that you're going beyond that tells me you are going to reach far beyond. So I promise you, success will easily come your way. And
Thanks. I hope so.
I don't hope so. I know so. So yeah, it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you about all this amazing content, all the amazing stuff you're putting out, all the hard work you're putting into it. So go ahead and sell yourself. Tell us all about where we can find you, and tell us all about the amazing products. Go ahead and tell us everything.
Well, basically, I have a website, so it's being revamped as we speak, but I intend to finish this today and have, it rounded up. So, but the website is CZRPG.com. It's very simple. CZ, Christian Zook, right? RPG, RPG.com. This is one place, and the other place is like you can search for my last name on the guild or DM's Guild or Drive Through RPG, Zook, CZ. ZUCH. So if you search for Zook, you won't find any other, Zook on RPG. I think I'm the only one. So you'll find the products I have there. However, some products that are there are not specifically mine, but feel free to buy them anyways. They are there because they use my maps. So I am credited as an artist, although the product is not mine. But that's fine. I mean, go ahead and see if you like them, buy them as well. But if you want to find me specifically, you can click on my author name, and then you will find my stuff. And for you Ravenloft fans, like you mentioned at the beginning of the video, that Ravenloft audience is different from any other audience, and it is. Maybe yes. the Eberron audience might be similar, but I think the Eberron audience is a bit different. It's more like long term. They are not so fervorous. They are like more constant. I noticed that because they are really strong as well. They are very, very big fans of Keith Baker and any content that is put out for Eberron. But Ravenloft is a bit different. I see a very big boost usually when something is released. Then afterwards, of course, it cools a little bit down. We have something that is being produced that you might like. Many of you, of course, already ran Curse of Strahd. Some are planning to run Curse of Strahd. So we don't have a release date yet, but it should be in the coming weeks. We have a product that is called Barovian Born and Raised, which is basically guidelines to play Curse of Strahd as a Barovian, in which you will rise against Strahd, and there's going to be class options and stuff for players, stuff for DMs on how to play Curse of Strahd as a Barovian. And this is a different proposition, right? The slightly different game, as you are native Barovian. So stay tuned. This will be out. Something else that is very at the early stage for Ravenloft audience, it's we don't have a name for that yet, but it's something many people like and even play, which is the female Strahd aspect. Right? There is even a tag on the Discord for Curse of Strahd. There is a tag some people have, which is female Strahd. So I had a call to invite female writers. Right? So the team is composed by a female writer, a female editor, and also, of course, a female consultant. And we will come up with some product to guidelines, and there are changes. It's a tricky project because it's not a simple regender where you simply say the thread is now female. It's not only that. There are lots of intricacies that we are discussing, but this is something maybe for coming month also that you can expect, and it's also more niche, right? It's not everyone will it's a niche within Curse of Strahd, but it's going to be available. Well, and aside from that, I also create maps. I commission maps. So if you ever need, a custom map for your game, you are not able to find the map you want, go on my website or contact me on Twitter. I have DMs. You can DM me on Twitter. It's at Cizoic1. You need to put the one at the end, and I can help you and create the map you need. Specifically tailored for you.
Heck
I think that's pretty much about it.
Yeah. Like I said, a workhorse. You are going after it. That is some amazing stuff. So thank you so very much for talking to me about all this amazing stuff you're putting out. Thank you to everyone that watched this. Absolute delight. I cannot wait to see what the future holds for what you have going on. So thank you everyone.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you everyone for listening,
Very
and
nice.
I cannot wait to see you all in the next one. Peace.
See you, folks. Thank you for the opportunity. Bye-bye.